What's going on, Rideshare Nation? My name is Damien. I am your Connecticut, Uber and Lyft driver extraordinaire. Now, I wanted to pretty much start up a video podcast or so, just experience, talking about my experiences as a rideshare provider in Connecticut. Good and bad. Provide some tips. Create some dialogue. Feel free to leave a comment. By the way, if you're looking to become a driver, definitely sign up. You can use the referral code Damien. That's Damion 33848. That's Damien Damion 33848. Now, I started off with Uber, I would say and Lyft about 3 weeks ago. My buddy's at my house hanging out with me. He's talking to me about, oh, Damien, you know what? I drive on my spare time. It's something you should do. I make some good money. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm watching the news. I'm chilling out, hanging out in the house, drinking a beer. And, he's telling me he makes good money. Now, I have a full-time job. I kind of like my free time. I'm like, well, what's good money? Everything's open for interpretation. And he looks at me and goes, it's pretty good money. It's straight. Still didn't give me too much context. But, I had some vacation and stuff. You know what? Let me sign up. So both apps signing up are fairly simple. You sign up via the app. You download the driver app for both Lyft and Uber. They give you the opportunity to put in what kind of car you have, what year. There are year limits, requirements in regard to how old your car can be for both rideshare apps. And then they ask you to upload your registration and your insurance for the car. Now, picking a car is very crucial. Once again, you have to pick a car from a requirement perspective that, fits within their platform or requirements in regards to how old the car is. You also want to look at the type of car. If you got a two-door car, rideshare may not be practical, and especially for like a Uber X or a standard Lyft. So you want to get like a four-door sedan, something that is also good on mileage. I mean, you can have a luxury car that takes premium gas, but and they do have a higher level service. I guess you get paid for it more, but think about driving, a lot of mileage on those cars, the gas and the mileage, depreciation of the vehicle, they tend to add up. So, you want to get a car like a Honda, whether it's a Civic or an Accord, something spacious. A good sedan is usually pretty good. So I looked at what vehicle I had access to, and I had access to a Camry. As you see here, I'm in the Camry, a very clean Camry. I thought about, okay, now we have the Camry, I had everything up and running, got the car registered on both apps. I said, okay, before I even get on the road, let me watch some videos in regards to what to expect, some tips. So I would say go on YouTube. There's plenty of videos similar to mine that'll teach you a little bit more about the app, how to operate the app, certain tips and stuff like that. Because if you get out there aimlessly driving, trust me, it's not going to work in your favor. You want to go out there with a strategy. You want to create, strategy in regards to where you're going to go. Start driving in areas that you're somewhat familiar with. The app will take you to different directions, trust me. But, definitely start driving in an area you're very familiar with at first before venturing out. So come up with a strategy. But before you start driving, think about your vehicle and the presentation. What I did is I used to use the app. So at one point I was a customer, and I remember being in Philly, New York City, using the app and thinking about my experience as a rider and what I liked and what I didn't like. So I remember, getting into cars, and I would look at, just how clean the inside of the car was, because obviously you're giving people rides. I didn't really care what kind of car it was. It could have been a Kia, it could have been a Honda. I really didn't matter. Some people do, but for the most part, I wanted a car that was clean. I wanted a car that smelled good. So, at the end of the day, it was very crucial for me to have a car. I'm in a stranger's car. It's got to smell good. Also, everything in the car's got to be functioning. The windows got to be able to roll up and down. Seatbelts got to work. It's just everything's got to be good. And then it comes down also clear trunk, because, you never know if I'm going to have something I need to put on the trunk. And I open it up and there's no trunk space. It's kind of like, all right, I got to now put all the stuff on my lap. And if I have rider guests with me, it just doesn't help work in my favor. So it's very very good that you think about those things. Another thing you want to factor in as well is your demeanor as a driver. So I thought about, my experience with different drivers, what I liked, what I didn't like. Some drivers, I felt that, they did a poor job of reading the customer. They were somewhat chatty when I didn't really want to talk to them often. And then sometimes I may have been in a good mood, but they just got in the car and they were quiet and didn't say anything to me, which kind of made the ride awkward. So, I thought about that as well, as just being able to, I should be able to read out people. Now, the benefit for me is that I work as a professional recruiter. So I speak to strangers on a daily. I engage in very good conversation with random people on a daily basis. It's my job to figure people out very quickly and know how to speak to them and get on their level. So, that plays in my favor. But if it's not in your favor, or, let's say you're pretty much introvert, just feel people out before you go. If you're not that much of a talker, at least introduce yourself, be nice, and then, continue driving. So you get in the app, you get in the car, you get ready to go. Car's clean. I went to the store, I bought some air fresheners, as you see here. I turn on the air in the vent once in a while just to get the air flowing. So when people step in my car, they go, "Oh man, it smells great in here," and that's the experience I like. But you start driving. I did some pre-work once again, looking at YouTube, and what I realized is, okay, I'm in Connecticut. I live out in between Hartford and New Haven. Those are like two cities out here. And I said to myself, all right, where am I going to make some good money? So on the app, if you look at the map in the app, you're able to widen it and, bring it in closer, whatever it may be. I tend to widen the map a little bit just so I can see surrounding towns, and Uber has these things called surges. The surges essentially tell you which area is hot. So it'll be like in red, and Lyft has something similar as well, where you see the blocks, and, I forgot what they call it in Lyft, but, essentially, you'll see which areas are busy, where you get price surges where they're paying you extra money to go out in those areas, probably because the demand is high. There isn't that many drivers. It's just more riders and drivers, supply and demand thing. So, I kind of look to see if there's anything immediate. Now, don't really make your way towards that area immediately, because those surges go off and on rather quickly. They may only last 15 minutes at a time, 20 minutes at a time, and then they go off. So, but I know which, generally I take a look at trends in regards to which areas heat up a lot throughout the day, throughout the week, and I say, okay, I should probably make my rides towards those areas. So I usually run a separate app. I got two phones. This is one of my phones I'm on. I actually have my Uber and Lyft app running right here. I'm actually hanging out at Bradley Airport today, but I've got both apps active and just essentially waiting for a ride to call. So how it works is, once you get into the road and you got the apps going, is essentially the app picks up ride requests. So as you're driving along and, you're on a highway, someone could see, how many Uber or Lyft drivers are in the area, and they could request. You're the closest one. Uber will send a push notification to you. Lyft will send a push notification to you. And you at that point can choose whether to accept the notification or not. Now keep in mind, apps like Lyft do keep into account your acceptance rate. So if you keep missing ride requests and whatever it may be, it's going to count against you, and eventually I think that they suspend your thing after a while if it gets to a certain percentage. So it's very mindful when you're on Lyft, especially, if you're going to be on the app, be ready to accept. Now, since I run both apps simultaneously, if I get a push notification from Uber and I accept the ride, I immediately, before starting the ride, go into my app for Lyft and turn it off. That way I don't miss any, I don't get dinged for any missed calls. Same thing goes if I accept anything for Lyft. I do the same thing. I make sure that, once again, I turn off the Uber app and I start driving for Lyft. All these things get really good at driving with navigation. I usually get like a little mound on my little dashboard there to hold the phone, plug everything to the aux cord. Also make sure my Uber and Lyft sticker is up and visible, so that when everyone comes to the car, they feel like, okay, I am in the place I need to be. Plus I have something, I'm not holding the phone in my hand navigation wise. Don't run navigation through your cars just you got to enter it in. The app does all the work for you. So just get a mount. It's pretty simple. For music wise, what I like to do as well is I like to have I create Apple Music or a Tidal or whatever source you use, Spotify. I just create like the top 100 songs that are out right now, or that's been out. Just keep adding to the list. Make sure all the music's edited, because you don't know someone's, they don't like cursing or whatever it may be. So I create like the radio play app, but I get all the top 100. I just keep adding to it. So each month is new songs. Sometimes some of the songs may be 3-4 months old, whatever it may be. But songs people are familiar with, people generally like. It's very diverse. I got a mixture of anything from hip hop, alternative pop, you name it, it's there. So that's what I run the whole time as I drive. But you accept the ride, you go up, and then you follow the app. The app will take you to your location, and when you get the rider, once again, you accept. You get there, you select that you've arrived. What I like to do is sometimes these apps, when you come and you arrive at the location, it gives the rider a couple of minutes to get themselves down. Like Uber gives them like 2 minutes, I believe. Lyft usually gives them 5 minutes. What I like to do when I show up, by the way, if they don't show up within those time windows, so in Uber, if they don't get to your car by 2 minutes, or in Lyft, if they don't get to your car by 5 minutes, they begin to charge them a wait time. I believe with Lyft, if it's like after a certain period of time, I don't know if it's 5-10 minutes or so, and they don't show up, it could automatically give you the option to cancel the ride, and you could go to your next ride, and they'll still pay you for it, but or you could wait. But generally speaking, what I do, I don't like the idea of people getting charged wait time unless they're really just late. So when I show up and I verify my location, I make sure I look at all signs. I look at, location numbers, whatever it may be. I also run 2 apps. So I use the driver app, but I use my other phone and I use Waze, just to make sure that I'm getting in the right location. And I also use Waze to look at traffic. If there's traffic in a certain way. And mind you, I told you to start driving where you know the location. That way, if there's traffic or there's something going on, because I know the area, I could take another route to get to the rider quicker. Same thing when I pick up the rider, I know how to get to their location quicker based on knowing the area. But when you get there, I usually call them. I have my phone hooked up to the car. If you don't, just pick up the phone, call them and say, hey, this is Damien, it's your Uber or your Lyft driver. Just want to let you know that I'm outside. And most of them will say, oh yeah, cool, I'm out here. I'm coming out, whatever it may be. They appreciate it, because even though Uber sends them a notification to let them know the driver's here, some people are not by their phone. They could be doing something else. You don't know if they're packing, if they don't know if they're getting ready, and they're not seeing that you're outside. So I like to call them and let them know they're outside, so it minimizes the charge they get for a wait time. Some people, they prefer text. I'll text them, or they'll text me and just say, hey, I'm at this location, or I'll be coming out. So, whatever may work. Just make sure you try to give the effort to communicate to them so they're aware. A lot of riders appreciate that. When they come in, I greet them, thinking, hey, make sure who they are. So if the name is John, I say, hey, John, and then I see if they respond. With someone else, I say, did John request this ride for you, or you may have the wrong Uber. So you want to verify who the rider is first, so you're going to the right place. Also verify the location in which they're going. So Uber and Lyft work when you accept the ride. They don't tell you where the end location. It tells you where the rider is, but doesn't tell you where you're going. So, if you're planning on staying in a certain area, that rider that you pick up, you may thinking that you're going to be in Hartford or New Haven for the day, and that rider can be going to Boston. And so you got to be prepared when you come out here to be out here, just in case. So I always say, hey, FYI, which direction are you going, or where are you going, where's your end result? And they'll tell me the address, and I'll say, okay, what city is that? And then I'll know automatically, prepare myself to know where I'm going to drive to, and get going. I'll ask them how their day is going. It's very crucial for you to do that. Even if they're not in a speaking mode, I just say, hey, how's everything going? Since it's around the new year, hey, how's New Year's for you? Did you do anything fun for New Year? Try to create some very small introductory conversation to feel them out. Now, if they don't want to talk, you could tell that very quickly. Some people come in with their phone, they got their headphones on already. I just say hi and then keep going. If they are quiet and just introverted and want to talk too much, you got to read them out. Now, some people engage, say, hey, everything's good, and they're keeping the conversation going. And my thing is to keep it going too, keep the conversation light. I'm very neutral with all topics and discussions for the most part. Whatever I believe in, whatever I think, I leave that at home. When I get in this car, honestly, I'm driving very different people, different strangers, whatever it may be. They have different views than I have, so I'm not here to judge them. They can be who they need to be. They can talk about what they want to talk about for the most part, unless it's like, hopefully it's nothing disrespectful for the most part. But generically speaking, we all have differences, but it's my job to have open forum discussion here in this car. This car is a very fun discussion area. Everyone has the opportunity to have their opinions and rights. We could talk about music. We could talk about just what they're doing for the night. Just be prepared to understand that each driver is different. Each driver experience will be different, and you have to be able to prepare yourself to adjust to them very quickly. They want to talk, continue to talk. The better talk you do, the better conversation you provide them, it's actually, believe it or not, great tips you get out of it. If they don't want to talk, believe it or not, staying quiet and making sure your eyes on the road and you're driving good, tips come out of it. Also, when you're driving, make sure you're driving nice and carefully. Just because you know the area, don't drive crazy. I look out for potholes because I don't want to damage the car, but I also don't want the driver in the back to be bouncing around all day. Another thing too is ask them how the temperature is doing. I drive very slow for the most part. I make sure that I'm doing a speed limit. I'm taking my time at stop signs, looking left, looking right. Just making sure that they feel comfortable in the car, that you are a safe driver. Once again, always checking in on driver. Hey, how's everything back there? Is it too hot? How's the temperature? I do a temperature check. Is it too, you want to turn the heat up? You want to turn it down? I make sure that they're comfortable, because once again, the ride is you want them to be comfortable for the most part. And that's it. I generally keep like a box of icebreakers, like these little mints and stuff like that. So at some point in the ride, I'll take it out and act like I'm going to use it, which I do. And then I'll have it out in my hand. So I'll say, hey, do you want any? Got some icebreakers, and I'll take it up and I'll shake it out a little bit, shake it. And if they say, yeah, sure, then it's a nice gesture. Other people go, no, I'm okay. And it's fine. But at least you offered. And they appreciate that. So those are some things you can do. Other people get car backs, these things that you put on the back of your car, holds water, and all these other things. I have it, for some days I use it, some days I don't. So it's up to you. But this is just a grand introduction of what to expect driving. I'll give more further videos as we go along. I'm at the airport now. It looks like I'm coming up for a queue soon. So definitely, for the most part, it's fun. I think if you're something that you're trying to do on the side, you should check it out. There's no doubt about it. If you're a naysayer, if you're a doubter, this is not the thing to doubt about. People here make a lot of money. I've been doing it, and I've made a good amount of money doing this. So definitely check it out if you want to make some money. And if you have any questions or anything, feel free to leave a comment underneath this video. Once again, my referral code's at the beginning of the video. So if you're looking to drive, sign up, put in a referral code. I get paid a little extra money doing this, and I'll pop up some new videos as I start learning new tricks and everything. I'll do that, and I'll also let you know some interesting YouTube stories or Uber Lyft stories that I may have. I won't say any names. I'll do good and bad experiences. I won't throw anybody under the bus, but they're pretty entertaining at some points. So safe driving out there. Go make some money. Go meet some friends. Have fun. Once again, it's Damien, your Connecticut Lyft and Uber extraordinaire. Take care.